My name is Amanda Reynolds. I'm 30 years old, a colonel in the United States Army. And tomorrow I will sit across from my father and my brother in a high-level defense contract meeting. Only they have no idea, not a clue, that I am the Pentagon's official liaison with final approval authority. Can you imagine that? After all these years, after all the dinners where I was barely a footnote in conversation, I'll walk into that boardroom and they won't see the disappointment, they'll see the decision maker. But tonight I sit at this old family table, quietly absorbing their familiar indifference. It's almost absurd, isn't it? 5 years ago, I left this house and never looked back. I was done being the disappointment, the daughter who supposedly threw away her future by choosing the military over business school. I can still hear my father's voice, cold, dismissive. The Army's for people with no real options, Amanda. That was our last meaningful conversation. Last time we actually spoke, not just exchanged words. And now here I am, standing in front of this house, looking at that worn-out welcome mat that never really felt sincere. The porch light spills a warm, yellow glow onto the cracked steps, the hedge still untamed after all these years. It's like time stopped here. But I didn't. As I step inside, the scent of old lilac air freshener rushes over me, dragging me back to teenage memories I thought I'd buried. The wall by the entrance is covered in framed photos. Logan's graduation, Logan's wedding, Logan's perfect family smiling in every single shot. And me? Not a single photo of me in uniform. Not even the commissioning portrait I sent them 5 years ago. Why would there be? My mother's voice drifts from the kitchen. Dinner's almost ready. Logan just got another promotion. Can you believe it? Oh, I can believe it. I always could. He's their golden child, after all. I walk into the kitchen, smiling politely, performing my role as the quiet, polite daughter who apparently just drifts from place to place in the Army. She doesn't ask me anything real. Not about my work, not about my life. Just, still traveling around a lot with the Army? I could correct her. I could tell her exactly where I've been, what I've done, the teams I lead, the missions I oversee, the security clearances I hold. I could tell her about the cyber operations that changed the course of national security. But I don't. Why? Because tomorrow, when their CEO calls me Colonel Reynolds in front of that boardroom full of executives, the silence will speak louder than any words tonight ever could. At dinner, it's like clockwork. Logan arrives, right on time, wearing that effortless, important but casual blazer. His wife brings some expensive wine none of us really like, but all pretend to appreciate. Logan dominates the conversation as usual, holding court about corporate restructurings, performance bonuses, and what his team is doing for Westbridge's military contracts. Military contracts I now oversee, ironically. And my father. He beams at Logan, looking at him like he's watching his legacy unfold right in front of him. Occasionally, he glances at me, a polite but disinterested look, as though I'm still that confused young girl who couldn't get her life together. My mother eventually turns to me with that same hollow smile and asks, "So, still moving around a lot with the Army?" "Something like that," I answer calmly, swallowing the truth like I've done for years. Dad doesn't look up from his plate but adds, "Must be tough being out there in the field all the time. No real long-term strategy, right? Just following orders." My brother laughs lightly at that, and I feel a familiar tightening in my chest. That same ache I felt when I packed my bags 5 years ago and left this house behind. They have no idea what I do, no clue about the responsibility I carry, no respect for the discipline, expertise, and leadership it takes to reach where I am. And yet, I remain silent. Not because I agree, but because I don't need to defend myself anymore. The truth will reveal itself tomorrow. Even as they talk over me tonight, as they praise Logan, as they bask in the glow of his success, I know tomorrow is mine. When I walk into that boardroom in full uniform, when I take my seat at the head of the table, when I set the standards for the very project Logan brags about tonight, that moment will say everything that needs to be said. So I sit through this dinner. I endure their shallow questions, their assumptions, their pride in Logan's next big promotion. I keep my uniform neatly folded upstairs, silver eagle insignia polished to perfection, awaiting the morning. And in the quiet between their laughter and Logan's corporate anecdotes, a thought crosses my mind. A simple question, sharp and clear. Do they even know who I am anymore? Or did they ever? I think I already know the answer. But I smile anyway. Because tomorrow, they will. After dinner, I retreat to my old bedroom. And God, it's exactly the same. Frozen in time like a shrine to a version of me they once believed in. The same trophies lined up neatly on the shelf. Basketball championships I fought for when I was still the golden daughter. Honor roll certificates framed on the walls. College acceptance letters pinned proudly to a corkboard that hasn't been touched in years. Every single thing in this room screams potential. Their idea of potential. Their narrative, the story they wanted me to live. But none of it includes what came next. Nothing in this room reflects who I became after I chose the Army. The moment I accepted that ROTC scholarship, I stopped being their prodigy and became their silent cautionary tale, the daughter who threw away her future, at least in their eyes. No mention anywhere of my cybersecurity awards, no framed articles about my deployments, no certificates acknowledging my promotion to major or to lieutenant colonel, and certainly not my greatest accomplishment, becoming a colonel in Army Cyber Command at 30. That achievement, monumental, rare, doesn't even register here. In this house, it's like it never happened. I sit on the edge of my childhood bed, still covered by the patchwork quilt my grandmother made when I was 12. I trace its stitches absent-mindedly, feeling the heavy pull of nostalgia and rejection tangled together. I wonder, did they ever truly see me? Did they ever try to understand the woman I became? Or was I just a disappointment as soon as I deviated from their blueprint? Downstairs, their laughter echoes up the stairwell. My father's deep chuckle, Logan's confident booming voice, the soundtrack of a tribe that chose its heir and stopped looking beyond him. I can practically imagine them leaning in, clinking glasses, basking in Logan's most recent triumph. It's almost poetic, isn't it? Logan, the perfect son, has just been promoted to lead the systems integration team on the very same military project that I, invisible, overlooked Amanda, oversee. He doesn't even know. None of them know. I open my suitcase slowly, reverently, and there it is. My uniform, a sharp contrast to the softness of this room. Midnight blue, immaculately pressed, the silver eagle insignia gleaming under the dim bedroom light. My ribbons and medals perfectly aligned, every detail polished to perfection, every thread a testament to years of discipline, sacrifice, and excellence. I run my fingers over the fabric, checking for imperfections that aren't there. Military precision, military calm. But inside, my stomach churns with an old ache. Not nerves, not anymore. It's something deeper, something older. The ache of being unseen, misunderstood, reduced to a footnote in their family history. But tomorrow they will see. Tonight they can have their stories, their assumptions, their comfort in believing I am just drifting, directionless, following orders without strategy or purpose. Let them laugh. Let them bask in their ignorance. Because tomorrow, when I walk into that boardroom in this very uniform, when their CEO stands and greets me as Colonel Reynolds, when I take my seat at the head of the table as the Pentagon's liaison with full authority over their precious contract, there will be no questions left. They won't be able to interrupt me, diminish me, or explain me away. The uniform will speak louder than anything I could say at this dinner table. The insignia, the title, the authority, undeniable. As I fold the uniform back carefully, I breathe in slowly and let the memories wash over me. The victories no one here celebrated, the sacrifices no one here acknowledged, the nights I stayed awake leading cyber operations that protected millions of lives, while they sat at this table laughing about Logan's next promotion. Do they even realize that the project Logan was bragging about tonight, his new position, the one they're all so proud of, falls under my oversight? That the protocols he'll be responsible for implementing require my final approval? No, of course they don't. And that's fine. That's more than fine. Because tomorrow, they'll find out exactly who I am, and the silence that follows will say everything. The next morning arrives, crisp and bright, but my mind is razor sharp, locked in. No hesitation. I drive toward Westbridge Technologies, my uniform immaculate, my Silver Eagle insignia gleaming on my shoulders. Every detail polished, every crease perfectly pressed. I park deliberately in the spot marked Military Liaison, authorized by the Department of Defense. My name isn't written there, but my authority is. And as I step out of the car, I feel something rise in me. Not arrogance, but certainty. The quiet kind. The kind that comes after years of work done in shadows while others basked in the spotlight. As I walk through the main entrance, I see them noticing me. Heads lift from screens, backs straighten. Eyes track my movement, but no one questions it. "Good morning, Colonel," the security guard says as he scans my badge, his tone crisp and respectful. The irony hits me. How easily strangers show me the respect that, in my father's house, was never freely offered. Why does respect feel heavier, more meaningful when it's withheld by those who should have given it first? I ride the elevator up to the executive floor, my heart steady, my mind sharp. The floor plan is etched into my memory. I left nothing to chance. When the doors open, Logan is the first thing I see. Standing by the window, casually scrolling through a sleek tablet, completely unaware, until his eyes meet mine. And he freezes. His face drains of color, confusion spreading across his features. "Amanda, why are you dressed like that?" he stammers. His voice cracks. I almost pity him. Almost. He is still catching up while I am already miles ahead. Before I can speak, my father appears around the corner, locked in conversation with two men in identical Navy suits. The moment he sees me, his steps falter. His face, usually so composed, twists in visible confusion and hesitation. I can see it. The wheels turning, the disbelief, the dawning realization that something doesn't fit the story he's always told about me. And then, salvation arrives for me, and the final blow for him. "Colonel Reynolds," says Lorraine Hart, the CEO herself, smiling warmly as she strides toward me. "What a pleasure to have you here in person. Gentlemen," she adds, turning to the others, "for those who don't know, this is Colonel Amanda Reynolds, our Pentagon liaison for Project Sentinel. She holds final authority on all military integrations tied to this contract." Her voice rings out crisp and decisive, and the air, it changes, it freezes. My father's expression goes slack, his mouth open slightly, but no words coming. Logan, standing a few feet away, looks like someone just flipped his world upside down. Their silence is deafening, and I let it stretch. I want them to feel it, to sit in it. Inside the conference room, my name is already on a placard at the head of the table, right beside Lorraine's. I take my seat, calm, composed, and pull out my notes with deliberate ease. Directors, engineers, project managers file into the room one by one, each offering polite introductions and nods of acknowledgement. Many seem surprised at how young I am. Almost all seem surprised that I'm a woman, but none ask twice. They don't need to. The uniform, the insignia, the rank. They speak louder than age or gender ever could. Finally, Logan and my father enter, slipping into seats far down the table. The dynamic is unmistakable now. They are not at the center anymore. I am. The meeting begins promptly at 900 hours. Lorraine gives a brief introduction, highlighting my involvement and oversight in refining their cybersecurity protocols before turning the floor over to me. "Colonel Reynolds," she says with warmth and confidence, "the room is yours." And it is. I stand and begin. My voice is steady, firm, precise. I brief them on the current milestones, outline critical improvements, and make clear what I expect before the next round of funding can proceed. I ask direct questions, request documentation, challenge assumptions. My gaze meets each speaker squarely, unflinching, and then it's Logan's turn. He stands, visibly unsettled now, clutching his presentation tablet like a shield. As systems integration lead, I've been developing a revised rollout strategy for Phase 2, he begins, his voice thinner than I've ever heard it. I believe it aligns with our performance targets. I wait, arms crossed, letting him speak without interruption. But when he finishes, my tone is measured, professional, impossible to dismiss. "Mr. Reynolds," I say, deliberately using the formal address, "can you clarify how your proposed method accounts for the latency threshold specified in our last Pentagon memorandum?" He blinks rapidly, clearly caught off guard. I can revisit that section." "You'll need to," I reply evenly. "Those benchmarks are non-negotiable. Please submit a revised draft by close of business Thursday." A small nod. "Yes, ma'am." The room is still. Eyes flicker between us. My father is rigid in his chair, silent, watching this unfold, but not intervening, not protecting Logan, not diminishing me. He can't. I move on seamlessly, steering the meeting back to the agenda as though nothing unusual has happened, but everything has. When the meeting concludes just after noon, Lorraine offers a few closing remarks about transparency and collaboration, then turns again to me. "Colonel Reynolds will remain on site through tomorrow for follow-up assessments. Please extend her full access and support. This project is critical to both national security and our partnership with the Department of Defense." As the room empties, I feel the shift in the air around me. Respect, not curiosity, not skepticism, not polite tolerance. Real, earned respect. For the first time, my credentials are not invisible. They are unmistakable, undeniable. And my father. He lingers in the hallway afterward, hovering just outside the glass walls, looking like a man who walked into a room expecting applause and instead found a tribunal. He doesn't speak immediately, but eventually he catches my eye. In that glance, everything that was left unsaid last night at dinner hangs heavy between us. The judgments, the underestimations, the years of doubt. Tomorrow came, and it didn't just belong to me. It revealed me. I step out into the hallway, calm, composed, and meet my father's gaze head-on. Not as Amanda, the disappointment, but as Colonel Amanda Reynolds. After the meeting ends and the boardroom empties, my father doesn't retreat immediately as I half expected. Instead, he lingers near the glass wall, watching me intently, as though he's just seen me, truly seen me, for the very first time and doesn't quite know what to do with the image that's staring back. Then he speaks, his voice low but firm. "Amanda, we need to talk." Of course we do. I nod once, controlled, calm. "Your office?" I ask evenly. He hesitates, then gestures down the corridor, and I follow, my boots clicking against the polished floor, each step steady and deliberate. His office is exactly as I remember it from the few childhood visits. Dark wood paneling, shelves crammed with framed accolades, military contracts, corporate plaques. a monument to a man who believed success could only come in one shape, one path. His path. Inside, my mother sits stiffly in a visitor's chair, clutching her purse tightly in her lap. Logan stands near the window, arms crossed, face guarded but uneasy. The three of them together, my childhood tribunal. And me? I don't sit. I stand at ease, hands clasped behind my back, composed, unapologetic. My father breaks the silence first. His voice has lost its commanding timbre. It's quieter now, uncertain, almost searching. "How long have you been a colonel?" he asks, as though he can't quite believe the insignia he saw on my shoulders moments ago. 6 months, I reply, my tone measured. There's no anger, no triumph in my voice, just fact. 6 months, he repeats, as if trying the words out in his mouth, testing their weight. Why didn't you tell us? I meet his gaze squarely. I did, I say softly but firmly. I sent invitations to my promotion ceremony. I emailed articles. I left voicemails. Then I add, not bitter, but truthful. None of you responded. For a moment, no one speaks. Then my mother murmurs, almost as if speaking to herself, We didn't really understand what it meant. Colonel sounded impressive, yes, but we didn't know what it really was. I let her words hang there for a beat before answering, because this is important. This moment matters. I stopped trying to justify my worth, I say evenly. Every time I called, every time I tried. The conversation turned back to Logan or to quarterly numbers at the company. You never asked about me, not really, unless it was to suggest I come home and leave the army behind. Logan shifts his weight uncomfortably, finally speaking, his voice defensive but quieter than usual. We thought you were stuck, Amanda, moving from base to base. We didn't think you were really going anywhere. Last night, I remind him gently, you said people in the army just follow orders. That lands harder than he expected. His eyes drop for a second, his arms uncross, his bravado slipping just a little. Silence descends again. Thick, necessary, unavoidably honest. Then my father draws a breath, and what he says next is not what I expected. You've built something we don't understand, he admits slowly. We thought we knew better, but we didn't. We were wrong. The words feel almost foreign coming from him. This man who had never once admitted uncertainty to me, who always stood as if the world bent to his authority. And then, he does something I have never seen before. He extends his hand, not stiffly, not ceremonially, but deliberately. A gesture I recognize instinctively, intimately, the quiet, universal language of respect in the military. Not as a father, not as a man holding authority over a daughter, but as one professional to another. Colonel Reynolds, he says, voice rough but steady. I owe you an apology. I underestimated you completely. My throat tightens, but I hold steady. No bitterness rises, no urge to gloat, no desire to wound. I simply reach out and take his hand, a firm, respectful grip. I accept, I reply calmly. It's closure, pure and simple, and yet it's more than that. In this office where I once felt small, unheard, dismissed, I now stand on equal ground. Not because he finally acknowledged me, though that matters, but because I had already built this foundation without needing him to. In that quiet handshake, I feel the shift, the weight of years lifting, not because the past has been erased, but because I have carried myself here, through every doubt, every dismissal, every sidelong comment at every family dinner. And now they know. They know not because I shouted it, or demanded recognition, or forced them to see. They know because I showed up fully, calmly, exactly as I am. and let my presence speak the truth they had long ignored. I walk out of that office not needing a single extra word. They can sit in their silence now. The truth has already spoken. 6 months later, I stand in the doorway of my apartment in Washington, D.C., waiting for them to arrive. My space is quiet, orderly, intentional. A reflection of the life I have built on my own terms. The shelves are lined with cybersecurity books, neatly arranged between a few carefully chosen decorations. A framed commendation here, a discreet medal there, and just enough photos from deployments to remind me, and anyone who visits, of what I have done, of where I have been. Not too many, just enough. This is my home, my space, my ground. My father is the first to arrive, earlier than expected, and he holds something in his hands that I don't recognize at first. A large framed article. "I brought you this," he says, his tone softer than I'm used to. He hands it to me carefully, almost like it's fragile. It's a full-page feature from a defense journal covering the success of Project Sentinel. My photo right there at the center in uniform, shaking hands with General Armstrong and Lorraine Hart. And then he says something I never thought I'd hear. "I've had this hanging in my office for a few months now." His eyes don't quite meet mine as he says it, but I see it. The effort, the gesture, the quiet admission that he's been watching, paying attention in his own way, and I feel something shift inside me, not quite forgiveness, but peace. "Thank you, Dad," I reply simply, holding the frame carefully. A few minutes later, my mother arrives carrying a pie tin wrapped in a kitchen towel. "Apple," she says, almost shyly with an awkward little smile. "Still your favorite, right?" "It is," I answer. And it is. But somehow it means more now that she remembered. She steps inside, glancing around my apartment, visibly taking in how clean, organized, intentional it all is. I catch her almost about to comment, the kind of motherly remark about tidiness she would have made years ago, but she stops herself. She's trying. I can feel it. Logan and his wife arrive last with a bottle of wine that actually looks like something we might enjoy this time, not just a performative gift. He looks relaxed in a way I haven't seen from him in years, almost casual, almost genuine. Dinner feels natural, unforced. We eat and talk, and though old habits linger in subtle ways, I notice something new. They ask me questions this time, real ones. Not just polite curiosity, but genuine interest in what I do, where I've been, how I live. After we clear the plates, Logan pulls me aside quietly, almost conspiratorially. "You know," he starts, "I implemented those recommendations you gave me that day, the ones during the meeting." I tilt my head slightly, amused. "How did that go over?" "Not great at first," he admits with a laugh. "The team pushed back, but now it's working better than what we had." I raise an eyebrow. "Did you tell them where you got the advice?" He grins sheepishly. "Eventually, after I let them believe I was a genius for about 5 minutes. I laugh softly, shaking my head. "As long as it's working," I say, and I mean it. Later, my father drifts toward my bookshelf, studying the medals and commendations tucked carefully among the books. His hand hovers over one medal in particular. The citation for leading a mission that thwarted a significant cyber attack, an attack that could have crippled critical federal networks. He turns slightly, glancing at me. "I read about this one," he says quietly. "Didn't realize at the time that you were leading it." "I was," I reply simply. He doesn't say anything else. No apology this time, no long speech, just a slow, quiet nod. The kind of gesture that, coming from him, means more than any elaborate acknowledgement could have. And that's when it hits me. This isn't a movie ending. There's no swelling music, no perfect resolution that neatly ties everything up. But it's real, and somehow that feels better. At the end of the night, as coffee is poured and my mother's pie is nearly gone, my father does something unexpected again. He raises his glass in a quiet toast. His voice is steady, solemn but warm. "To Colonel Amanda Reynolds," he says, his eyes meeting mine directly this time, "who proved that worth isn't found by following someone else's path, but by forging your own." For the first time, I look around this room and see something I had never seen growing up. Recognition. Not pity, not tolerance, not condescension. Genuine, earned respect. And in that moment, something clicks deep inside me, a clarity that feels almost freeing. The victory was never about them finally seeing me. It was about the fact that even if they hadn't, I still would have kept going. I realize now, I never needed their approval to be enough. I already was. That boardroom 6 months ago wasn't revenge. It wasn't even redemption. It was simply clarity, standing fully in who I am, in what I've built, without apology or explanation. The truth is, I could have walked away from this family dinner and still felt whole, because I've learned something that they're only just beginning to understand. You don't have to be seen to be real. You don't have to be applauded to be worthy. You don't have to be understood to be enough. But tonight they see. And while that's not what makes me whole, it makes this moment, this quiet evening, this simple meal at my own table, something beautiful, something earned. And as they raise their glasses, I raise mine too, calm and steady. Because in the end, I didn't need their respect to know my worth, but it sure feels good to have it.